So Damon Rensing, he's a St. Louis native. He's a graduate of this very high school that we're at. Somehow his parents let him go to Michigan State. My understanding is Gary played for SLU in the 1967 team and somehow let him to, from his eyes the fact, but from ours it's welcoming with open arms. So he was a 4-time letter winner. He's a 3-year starter for Michigan State while he was in school. He won first team All Big Ten his senior year. He was on the second team both his sophomore and junior. After graduation, kind of bounced around a little bit from coaching. He was on the women's soccer team as an assistant. Went out to UNLV for a year, did some under 17 for the Las Vegas Premier, and then he came back to Michigan State as an assistant under Coach Baum, and then eventually took over head coach 5 years ago. So he's led the team to a 57, 38, and 12 record, 4 NCAA tournament appearances in the last 5 years, and he's the first NCAA Great Lakes Regional Coach of the Year. So without further ado, we'll bring up Coach Damon Rensing.
Thanks to Tom, and thanks for all the MSU Alumni Association of St. Louis for inviting me down here to speak. The fact that this event kind of combines St. Louis and Michigan State, which are absolutely two of my favorite places in the world, is very special to me. And then be able to tie it into St. Louis U High, where I was able to go to school here, makes it even more that special. I'd like to kind of commend a few people for coming here. John Benoit, Kurt Wunderlich, Mike Boyle, and a few of the other guys. They went to like Kirkwood, Chaminade, De Smet. I mean, for you guys to come and put your foot in St. Louis U High hallways really shows your dedication to Michigan State University. So for all you guys, I really appreciate overcoming the SLU High myth there. So, but really, for me, one of the things that drew me to Michigan State, which was similar, was just a huge pride. When I grew up in St. Louis, there was a huge pride about athletics and just being someone in St. Louis, being the pride of St. Louis and SU High. And when I went up to visit at Michigan State and saw Sean Resford and Eric Snow, and Coach Baum hit me up, and that spirit was like tenfold at Michigan State, and you guys all have experienced that kind of spirit here, and it was undeniable, and that's why I went to Michigan State and not St. Louis U. So, Kurt, there's your answer for that. So, I came to this event last year, and Bert Vescolani did a great job with a great speech, and as I started to get to know a lot of the people here a little bit, what I found out is a lot of you guys have similar things in common with me. Is we've lived almost all our lives either in St. Louis or in Michigan. I kind of did it the opposite. I started out in St. Louis here for 18 years, went to Michigan State, and then just stayed there ever since. Girl up there never come home. I thought didn't think he was a very sharp guy, but what do I know? I met a girl, I never come home. So I guess he was a little sharper than I gave him when I was 18 years old. So, but anyway, a lot of you guys grew up in the state of Michigan, but have been, for various reasons, down here in St. Louis, and have called this home. So to me, the fact that you all share that in common with me validates that both St. Louis and Michigan State are very, very special places. What I thought I'd do here before we honor these group of guys is just talk for a few minutes on some things. I figure you guys would like to know a little access to what goes on within our current soccer program, and also just Michigan State athletics in general. And we've got a thing over our hallway in the locker room that says, "It's a great day to be a Spartan," and certainly in 2014 it is a great, great day to be a Spartan and be associated with Michigan State University. We've had some recent success here in men's soccer. We haven't quite caught up to the guys there in the back, but also within the athletic department. I think one of the things that have been constant, or the three words that come to mind, is there's a culture, there's talent, you got to have some talent, and then there's stability, both within our men's soccer program, but within our athletic department in general. So there's a great culture, there's certainly talented athletes and coaches in there, and then there's stability. And certainly with that culture is people. That's one of the main ingredients, and we've certainly got great people working in our athletic department here at Michigan State. Like Kurt showed, I won't go through it, but it was a great year for us. We lost in the national quarterfinals to Notre Dame 2-1, and I just hate losing to Notre Dame. It could be anybody, but, well, other than Michigan. Notre Dame's probably the other team I just cannot stand losing to, but to be fair, they're a class program. They went on and won the national championship. This sounds good for next GPA this semester was a 3.38, so I don't know if they're spending enough time on the soccer field, but they're doing well in the classroom, so who knows what that'll bring. If we're struggling next fall, just go, they're studying way too much. They're studying way too much. But I do want to talk, the recent success that we've had here at Michigan State within the men's soccer hasn't been a quick result. It's been a steady climb over really 30, 40 years. And, you know, when Joe took over in the late 70s, there weren't scholarships. And so there were certainly some good successes, but they didn't have the scholarships and the budgets that a lot of the other programs had. But what Joe did was start to create that culture that we're talking about here. And one of the things that you know, and then in the 1990s, we started to infuse some talent. Scholarships became available again to Michigan State soccer. And then you started to see more talent. But obviously with more talent comes a competitive attitude, a focus on winning. And so when I started to take over, finding the balance of keeping a good culture and trying to win and be as competitive as you can was something that we had to continue to do. But we've been able to do that, and that's really been the success, is that we've got a team-oriented, family-oriented culture within the program. One of the things that we continue to do that Coach Baum started was, one of our mantras is family first, academics second, and soccer third. And that stays true with our program. So if there's any issues that with a family, a sick grandparent, whatever's going on, that takes precedent even over the academics. If we have, you know, a kid has a test or an exam, you know, they got to miss practice or come late or whatever, we put that first, because a degree from Michigan State, as you all know, will pay a lot more than a pro soccer. Even though they're getting paid a little bit more, we're certainly not in the baseball, football world with those things. So a degree from Michigan State is the second most, and then certainly soccer is very important to our players and our student athletes, but at the same time, you know, those other two things take priority. So we've been able to balance that. In 2010, which is my second year of coaching, we did something kind of interesting, I thought. We took our whole team and we broke them up into 8 groups of 4. And I said, we gave them 100 adjectives to define winning. Talented, creative, disciplined, confident. You can go down the list of 100 possible adjectives that would define winning. And we said, you got to come with 4 to define what Michigan State soccer is going to be about. And so the 8 groups all got together, and they had their 4 words, but some of them didn't always match. So then we got group A and B to come together. And then finally at the end we had 2 groups of 16, and they each had their different words. And then we combined it. And the 4 words that we put together were confidence, and the guys had to explain it to me. So confidence, we don't care who we play, we don't care where we play them or when we play them. You know, a little bit of Coach Izzo there with the tough schedules and things like that, but we try to stay as confident as we can. Consistent, we want our players, they want to be consistent in everything they do, whether it's academics, whether it's in training. We want to approach the number 1 team in the country and game against them the same way as the number 200 team in the country. Third is relentless. I think we can all, as Spartans, relate to that. We want to have a never say die, never give up edge to us. And I think that's true with all Spartans. And then lastly, with selfless, we want to always put the team first. So confidence, consistent, relentless, and selfless. And I knew when the guys came up with selfless that they were continuing to keep that culture that Coach Baum was talking about and started. So just to kind of give you some insights there, and that's what's really helped led us is to continue to our program. I think the other thing is Mark Hollis, our AD, he's the 2012 Athletic Director of the Year. Has kept us going. He ensures stability within men's soccer. In 2011, we had some injuries, and our record was 7-8-4. Not a great record. And so, but what I did have is I was constantly reassured faith and stability from my athletic director, and what that allowed me to do, as you guys all know, is just to keep focus on doing things the right way, not focus completely on winning, and to do things the right way, and that's what allowed us now to make this run here towards the end. And I can tell you firsthand that same stability exists through our entire athletic department. It starts with our president, Luana K. Simon. She's great for our university. She's a huge proponent of athletics, which helps us in the athletic, but also helps the university as well too. And then, like I said, you have Mark Hollis. And I've got a couple little stories here for you guys. We had a head coaches meeting every month, and so what happened was we'd go around the first 30 seconds or so, our first day of the meeting, and we give a 30-second update on our program. And so Coach D'Antonio was coming a little late to practice, or to the meeting, I apologize, to the meeting. And first of all, when I talked to some of the fact that Coach Izzo and Coach D'Antonio come to every meeting is amazing, because when I talk to the soccer coaches at Penn State or Michigan, they say a lot of those guys don't even show up, the head football and basketball coaches. So we've got 2 coaches that show. So we go around, we get to the hockey coach, Tom Anastas, and he's a pretty funny guy. And he said, well, before I start talking about hockey, this was right after we lost to Notre Dame in football. He goes, I want to know what's going on with this quarterback situation here. I mean, come on. And so we all kind of chuckled. And then about 5 minutes later, Coach D'Antonio walked in, and Mark Hollis said, hey, Tom, did you have a question for Coach D'Antonio here? He said, yeah, I want to know what's going on with this quarterback situation. And I think what happened, all the sports talk radio, all that stuff was all over the place. You know, do we have a quarterback? What's this? And Coach D'Antonio said, I'm not going to apologize for being 3-1. And this is a process. We have issues at quarterback, but some teams have issues at defense. Some of them are offense, some of them are special teams. But we have to go through this process. And I think when you have an athletic director, that's what allows teams to panic when they're 3-1. Who knows what happens? But there was no panic in Coach D'Antonio. Otis, who's here, I should point out, he wasn't on the team this year, but 2008 captain and defensive end for Michigan State. So. A couple other things. When you have guys like Coach D'Antonio and Coach Izzo, they are really there for the whole athletic department. In 2012, we won the Big Ten tournament championship. And on Tuesday, after Michigan State football lost to Iowa, there's a press conference, and all the media people are there to talk about what's going on with Michigan State football. And the first thing that Coach D'Antonio says is, before I get into football, let's first congratulate men's soccer on winning a Big Ten tournament championship. We're about championships here at Michigan State. So think about that. How many football coaches would have the presence of mind to do that? When we had a really good year in 2010, but we started to struggle at the end of the year. And as we were heading to the NCAA tournament, I was like, is there anybody on campus that, you know, has a pretty good track record in NCAA tournaments? And I said, well, maybe I'll give Coach Izzo a call. And he had me 3 days into preseason. He had me in his office, and we talked for 30 minutes about the psychology of how to handle things in an NCAA tournament, what he does, what he doesn't do. And it was really interesting, and we were fortunate to make a little run, and we beat Butler, who was undefeated in the Sweet 16, and as I'm getting on the bus, I get a phone call from Coach Izzo, who's in Maui, getting ready for the Maui Invitational for basketball, and he says, hey, great job today, congrats. I said, how did it go? I said, we weren't very good, but we grinded it out. He said, that's what it's about, grinding it out in the NCAA. Types of people that are working for the athletic department. When you take those 4 people, Luana Simon, Mark Hollis, Coach D'Antonio, and Tom Izzo, who are there for the whole team and the whole athletic department, you know we're in good stability. And that's why I say it's a great day to be here at Michigan State. It's a great day to be a Spartan. Just like soccer, there are so many programs that are headed in the right direction. Baseball's been doing really well. Volleyball, field hockey went to the Elite 8. And are any of you guys familiar with what the Director's Cup is? So the Director's Cup measures athletic departments and how they are based on all the team's performances. And at the end of the fall season, Michigan State was the #2 athletic department in the entire country. So only Stanford had a better track record in all their sports. And again, that's not just the individual coaches, that's to the culture, the people, the stability, and the talent that we have right now moving forward at Michigan State. Like I said, there's a lot of programs that are heading in the right direction. So what I'd like to do now is, where's Matt Kreikemeier? Is he hanging over there? We call him Gooner. That was his nickname. The first day of soccer, he said, hey, my name's Matt Kreikemeier, but call me Goon. We didn't even go, we just called him Gooner. So Gooner, we're gonna go through and we're gonna introduce a lot of the athletes here before the 67 and 68 team that led to the culture and stability of what's going on in a positive way here at Michigan State Athletics. And when we call your name, just please stand. John Benoit, he played obviously soccer at Michigan State. You can see his stats there. All Big Ten, academic All Big Ten. And he did have one fight in a soccer game as a player as well. That's not in the notes. Thanks, John. Matt Kreikemeier, Goon, 2003 to 2006. Grew up in St. Louis, went to St. Louis U High here. Again, Force Scholar athlete. I won't go into all of the details. You guys can hopefully see and read them up there. Played every minute of every game in the last 2 seasons, which is quite remarkable. Matt. Mike Boyle, okay? Mike Boyle was a swimmer, went to Chaminade. Like I said, I will not hold that against you at all, Mike. Backstroke, 1969 to 71. Career stats or highlights. Missouri State backstroke champion in 67. Second place backstroke, 1968 Big Ten championship. 68 Olympic tryouts, qualified and competed. 6th place, 200 backstroke finish in the Big Ten championships twice. That's amazing. Congratulations, Mike. Tony Gallo played rugby at Michigan State. From 85-86 was the team president and competed in the Big Ten tourney from 84 to 86. Richard Pikora, JV baseball, 1977, played second base from Roseville, Michigan. Dave Riggs, who's on the board, also played rugby at Michigan State in 1985. Inside, outside center, that looks like a tough position. Is that, you gotta be crazy to do that or what? That's great. Shadow, Steve Schad, where are you, Steve Schad? Steve Schad went St. Louis U High grad as well, played in Michigan State from 79 and 80, co-captain, was also the assistant coach when I played there from 93 to 99. Craig Van Sciever, it was good to meet you earlier and talk to you. Played on the baseball team from 1958 to 1960 from Dearborn, Michigan. Right-handed pitcher. Team went 23-2 over a 3-week period. Won the national tournament in 1959. And it resulting in Craig's name inscribed on a bat in baseball's Hall of Fame. That's amazing. And Craig was one of those guys that did the opposite of me. He grew up in Michigan. It sounds like he moved here in '62 and been here ever since. So congrats to that. A lot of you guys met Bert last year as a gymnast, and currently helps run the St. Louis Science Center here in St. Louis. Is Joe Weber here? There he is in the back. Joe Weber, baseball 68 to 72, grew up in St. Louis. He's manager on the team. Thanks, Joe. Wunderlich, Kirkwood, Missouri, the 2008 Big Ten Pitcher of the Year. Is that correct? 2008? 11. Man, you're young. No, but Kurt, for a lot of you guys that have followed baseball, they really resurrected things, and Kurt and some of his fellow players were a huge part of getting Michigan State one of their first Big Ten championships in a long, long time. So congrats, Kurt. Drafted in the 20th round by the Oakland A's. Great job there as well. Not too many guys have that opportunity. Kevin O'Connell, one of the reasons I think a lot of guys Came up here, one of the first guys to come to Michigan State, played goalkeeper from St. Louis. Probably one of the smartest guys, and he transferred from St. Louis University to Michigan State, so he had to be really sharp. But also, obviously, very smart with the education and minor in math. There's John Zacheis here. No, John was grew up in St. Louis. Didn't go to Michigan State, but was also an assistant coach, I believe, for Coach Baum at Michigan State. Correct, Joe? And then recently, I don't believe he's here, but Justin Squires was a basketball manager. We thought he was going to be here tonight for Coach Izzo in NCAA tournaments, Final Four, and Big Ten championship. Another notable one, he's not on the list, is Terry Donnelly is a St. Louis grad who played basketball on the 1979 Michigan State championship team. I believe he scored quite a few points, maybe 10, 14 points in the national championship game that defeated Larry Bird. So those are a lot of guys. Let's give them all a round of applause for their contribution. You know, our goals at Michigan State currently are to get to Final Fours and to try to win national titles. And those are tough goals to have. But we can honestly tell our players right now that this isn't a pipe dream, because there are people at Michigan State who have done this. They've been to, you know, 4 or 5 Final Fours. I know some of these guys have been to the 2 and have won national championships. They were guys that, you know, I could keep talking, but we're going to let them kind of take things over here. But they're the one that kind of got a lot of this started, and doing this has kind of afforded us, a lot of us soccer guys in recent years, the opportunities to come up, receive partial scholarships. That's mostly what it was, at Michigan State, and earn a degree. Before we do get on and bring these guys up, there's a couple people I think we should remember in talking with some of the guys. Certainly one of the most important people and influential people, this was Ed Boyle, Tom's father, who's here. Ed was the coach of a local club, Kudus, and when Gene Kenny, the Michigan State coach, came down, he got to know Ed, and Ed was really one of the guys that helped a lot of these guys get to Michigan State and start this trend. So we definitely want to acknowledge and remember Ed, who's a very positive Spartan. One of their teammates, Barry Tiemann, is no longer with us, but was obviously a very good player, but most importantly a very good person and great teammate when I talked to Joe and a lot of the guys. And then finally, but certainly not least, Terry Sanders was also a very good player, a very good person, and a great Spartan. His daughters and son are here. If Terry, Lindsay, Tammy, and help me out one more. Nikki, if you guys could please stand, let's acknowledge Terry for sure. Thank you all for being here, and thanks to Terry for being a great Spartan. Without further ado, let's turn it over to these guys. They look just like they're ready to play in a 1967 match again. So why don't we bring these guys up, and we'll let you guys take the floor here.